Welcome and thank you for joining us today for MPC, Milwaukee's philanthropic community, where we bring awareness to nonprofit leaders and everyday heroes who are making an impact in our community through their generosity, their purpose, and their impact. Welcome to MPC, Milwaukee's philanthropic community, where we highlight nonprofit leaders and everyday heroes who are making a difference through their purpose, their passion, and their generosity. I'm your host, Jill Economou, and I invite you to join our conversation today with our nonprofit, learn how they're making an impact in our community, and how you can make an impact yourself. Wisconsin is home to roughly 288,000 military veterans, making up about 6.9% of the state's adult population. While numbers have gradually declined over the decades as older generations pass away, the state still provides extensive state and federal services, including health care, disability pension, and employment initiatives. With so many veterans across our state, you'd think that most would be familiar with all of the different resources that we have available. But I think this may not be the case. The nonprofit that we're highlighting today wants to change that. They want every veteran to know all about the various resources that are available to them all across the state. As of last year, our nonprofit guest has helped 453 individuals and their families in 43 counties across Wisconsin. Their clients span every racial and ethnic background, with a recent outreach focus on the Hispanic population, which resulted in an increase of over 46%. Their clients range in age from 19 to 78, with 80% of them being male and 20% female, and 46 of them with service-connected disabilities. Let's learn who this nonprofit is, who operates with a collaborative focus with the intent to leverage existing resources without duplicating efforts to meet the needs of our wonderful veterans in our state. Welcome to the show today, Quentin Hatfield, Executive Director of Wisconsin's Veteran Network. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You are certainly welcome. We think that veterans are familiar with all of the different resources that are out there, all the different nonprofits that serve them. But for those that may not be familiar, give us a short synopsis of who Wisconsin Veterans Network is.
We are an agency who collaborates with over 300 other agencies across the state, federal and state agencies, other veteran nonprofits outside the veteran space, anybody who's in the human services business to deliver services, resources to and benefits to veterans and their families across Wisconsin. It's confusing, this landscape is, Jill, because there are over 500 nonprofits in Wisconsin serving veterans, and it can be anything from equine therapy to homelessness services, food pantry, and everything in between. So it's confusing even to us to learn who all those agencies are. The veteran will never wrap his or her head around who they all are and what they all do, how to qualify, because every one of them has a different qualifying set of standards to qualify for what they are offering to the veteran.
And I imagine it's a paperwork nightmare.
It can be, yes.
Yeah, with all the different organizations and what they need. Why do you think there's such a need for the collaborative services?
Well, because when we're dealing with an issue, which is what brings a veteran to us, there have to be circumstances around that issue that reveal other issues that need to be dealt with. We're working towards stabilizing a veteran or a veteran family for the long term. So if we're solving a food problem, food insecurity, okay, there's something driving that. It could be employment, it can be underemployment, it can be any number of things. We want to find out what all those issues are and try to address them all so that when we've finished working with that veteran and family, they're stable.
Okay. And you said before that you partner with a lot of different organizations across the state. How are those developed?
Well, honestly, we've been doing this for 10 years, and I've traveled this state from one end to the other and continue to do so. to involve us. We get engaged in the veteran resource groups in various areas of the state. We're part of the veteran resource group in Fox Valley and Green Bay, in Wausau and Marathon County, in Madison. I travel out to La Crosse, Eau Claire, to know who the resources are, to develop relationships that are trust relationships with those resources, so that when we reach out, they will respond, and they know they can reach out to us, and we will respond, trying to help them solve problems. So it's a matter of being in your face and developing relationships. It's all about the network.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure you can call somebody up in La Crosse and say, "This is Quentin," and they have no question, Quentin from where? They know who you are because you've been there to develop this whole partnership, which is it's so important. Walk us through how you collaborate with the partners in order to meet the needs of your clients.
Okay, I'll give you some live examples. A recent one, working with two different agencies in Dane County, a veteran in fairly dire circumstances with children, unemployed for an extended period of time, threatened with eviction from their home, and the dollar magnitude of the problem that needed to be solved just to get them to a stable point was more than any one agency could handle.
Mm,
In fact, there in those situations when we're asked to collaborate and bring our own dollars to the table by other agencies we're partnering with, we'll help bring a piece of that pie to the table. So we worked with two agencies in Dane County who could solve part of the problem, crack part of the nut, but couldn't do the whole thing. So we pieced together over about a 2-week period of time the whole package that was
mm.
needed to satisfy the landlord, the utilities, and everybody else that what could be threatening to the veteran if they took action.
So this obviously is the way that you differentiate yourselves
Hmm.
from other veteran nonprofits. You said there's 500 across the state, and each kind of staying in their lane, like we talked before we started the show today. Other ways that you would say Wisconsin Veteran Network is different. How do you differentiate yourself from others that are out there
Okay, so
serving the same population?
I don't mean to intimate that there are no other collaborating groups out there. There are, and we're part of them. Fox Valley has a great group, the Fox Valley Resource Group, great veteran resource group. I meet with them quarterly. They meet quarterly, so we can talk about issues, solutions, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But they're serving a specific geographic area. The same's true with Dane County, with the Green Bay and Brown County Resource Group, with the Wausau, Marathon County Resource Group, and others. The distinguishing thing for us is we belong to all of them.
Mm,
And so if the call comes from someone in Rhinelander, we may not know exactly who the right resource is there, but we know who knows, and that's
mm.
the key. So that the problem can be addressed quickly and resolved.
Which is wonderful because, again, I would imagine you talk to a lot of veterans who just don't know how to get started. How do we start this whole process? And do I need to work with only those organizations within my county? So they can call you and you can say, these are the ones that you need to work with. These are in your county, these are not, but all of them can help you.
And there are some national ones that they're not aware of that we can
Oh,
draw
sure.
into the Semper Fi Fund and others,
Mm-hmm.
Bob Woodruff Foundation and others who will lean into helping us resolve veteran issues. The bigger problem is this. It's a very confusing landscape, and the veteran often, but when they come to us, have already been 3 or 4 other places.
Mm,
But they've gone to the wrong agency with the right problem, and that agency says, we can't help you with that. Try
mm.
XYZ agency. They may have already been 3 or 4 different places, told no. They're frustrated, sometimes angry, and sometimes just ready to throw in the towel and say,
Right.
there is no hope for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know how I get frustrated. For example, calling on a medical bill, and it's like you got to go talk to them, and then you talk to the other people they recommend, and they say you got to go talk to them, and you're like, "Oh, for the crying out loud, let's just get this problem resolved."
Right.
I can imagine how frustrating that would be. So, do you consider yourself a government agency?
We are not government.
Okay.
We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We take no federal funding. because that would restrict who we could serve. The federal government provides a definition for anybody using federal dollars on who they can serve. We think that's too restrictive. Our definition is, did you wear a uniform for any amount of time? We'll try to find help. Now, that may mean we have to go outside the veteran space to find that help,
Sure.
but we know what it also requires to meet the standards of public agencies too.
And you and I talked before the recording again on how frustrating that could be. It's nice that you're not restricted with who you can help, but knowing that a number of organizations who are funded by the government can only serve individuals that have served, what did you say, 180 days?
180 consecutive days.
Consecutive
Right.
days, yes. So if you're a veteran that has served less than 180 consecutive days, know that there are resources out there for you, or they can connect you with others that can, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a large staff that helps you serve over 450 clients?
We're nimble and small. There are three of us professionally working directly with the veteran and veteran families. 2 navigators and myself. I do work some directly with veterans, even though I'm traveling the state and fundraising and all those sorts of things. But because we collaborate, all of our time is not focused on a single case. We're collaborating with those who are focusing time. So collectively, we can have impact without my having to have a large staff to have that impact. We're impacting through resources that already exist. Other than the three of us, we have 2 part-time staff. One is a retired CPA who is our business manager,
Okay.
and an MATC student who is our receptionist.
Oh, nice. Okay. So again, you're a small staff, but
Mhm.
you can be because you are utilizing resources of other organizations across the state.
We don't want to duplicate what's already being done.
Right. Nor should you,
Right.
right? I mean, there's again, we talked about this before. There's organizations that should stay in their lane. There's a specific thing that
Mhm.
they do and they do it well. So continue to do that and collaborate with other
Mhm.
organizations that stay in their lanes and do what they do well.
Right.
And then come together and provide a great solution to your clients. Well, I understand that the Department of Veteran Affairs has implemented major policy updates for this year, including streamlined benefits claims processing. And I'm sure there are other changes that the Wisconsin Veterans Network has seen in that veteran services space. So stay tuned, and Quentin will talk about that more after our commercial break. We'll be right back.
Milwaukee's philanthropic community is brought to you by Ellenbecker Investment Group. This year, EIG celebrates 30 years of thoughtful growth, personalized service, and community impact. From a kitchen table vision to a boutique wealth management firm, EIG has always put people first, offering transparent advice, fiduciary care, and education that empowers families for generations. To learn more, visit ellenbecker.com.
Welcome back to MPC, Milwaukee's philanthropic community. I'm your host, Jill Economou, and my guest today is Quentin Hatfield, Executive Director from the Wisconsin Veterans Network. So share with us what changes you see in the veteran services space.
Well, understand first of all that while the federal government and the Veterans Administration is trying to be more flexible, more responsive, it's a huge bureaucracy, and sometimes that trickle down is a little slower than any of us as veterans or those working in the veteran space would like to see. But they're making every effort. One of the things that's been very interesting to be a part of with the VA here in Wisconsin has been their recent focus, I'm going to say over the last 6 to 7 years, a much larger focus on engagement with the community. When we began this work a number of years ago, it was very tough to work with the VA. They did not willingly or eagerly cooperate with local agencies working with veterans.
No.
I think they've learned over time that they needed to. One of the first initiatives was creating the Veteran Suicide Prevention Task Force here in southeast Wisconsin, which we've been part of since day one, and bringing together community partnerships and agencies to help focus both on the outreach efforts and on the clinical efforts that needed to be made to really lean into trying to prevent veteran suicide, which I call our pandemic in the veteran space.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been some impact? There has been, but the biggest impact has been the willingness and the eagerness of the Veterans Administration itself to engage with community. And that's true nationwide,
Oh, okay. Not just a Wisconsin thing.
not just Wisconsin.
Okay. What about your other partnerships? Have those changed, good
Uh,
or bad?
well, unfortunately, in the nonprofit world, agencies come and go,
Mm-hmm.
and fortunately, fewer go than come, so new ones spring up. But the biggest challenge we're seeing right now, Jill, is that the scope and the scope of the problems we're trying to address has really drained resources for a lot of agencies, nonprofit agencies. We're more engaged right now in the Madison community in Dane County than we have ever been, because some agencies like the County Veteran Service Office in Dane County had their budget cut, so they're very much restricted by half on how much they can assist with a veteran. Other agencies, because the problems have been exacerbated by an economy where rent is up but incomes aren't, utilities are up and incomes aren't, food is up and incomes aren't. So when you're dealing with people who are lower middle, and lower income, their incomes are not rising to keep pace with what's happening in the economy. So a number of agencies, partner agencies, not only in Dane County, but statewide, are out of funds.
Mm.
Even government agencies, when they make county government budgets for their fiscal year, and you're halfway through a fiscal year and that budget's depleted, they don't have other dollars to put at that. So it's caused us to do a lot more fundraising so we can assist at those local levels, directly help those agencies, and collaborate more in what they can bring to the table, what we can bring to the table, what the veteran herself or himself may be able to bring to the table, to build a total solution.
That's got to be very frustrating and challenging when you've got a need and yet the partners with whom you're working are kind of stuck, with dollars that they have available. So I can imagine that that's frustrating. So that's challenges with your partnerships. What
Mhm.
about challenges in other areas that you see that you're witnessing in the veteran services space?
Well, some of those challenges with our partnerships are driven by reduction in federal funds, state funds, and local funds to human service agencies. We've been blessed here, and I'll give you a really hands-on example. We've been blessed here through the United Way of Greater Milwaukee and Waukesha counties. They selected us to be the partner to be funded to address veteran family issues in their Safe and Stable Homes program.
Nice.
That's minor children must be in the home, and there's a crisis of one kind or another. So it enables us to step into those veteran cases in Ozaukee, Washington, Waukesha, and Milwaukee counties. And so what has happened is, as we attend those local coalition meetings, we emphasize with them that if it's a veteran they're dealing with, we can take the pressure off the local resource by stepping in to help with those families. And they have leaned on us to do that more and more.
Give us an example, like an inspirational story of how you helped. I'm sure you have many of them, but I think it's not only me that likes to hear the inspirational stories. So share with our audience some examples of how you have helped a veteran.
Let me give you a couple. They're fun. They're outside the scope of what we normally think. It's not a homeless veteran. It's not a suicidal veteran. It's not somebody who's starving and living on the street and all that. So we had a young man shortly after the beginning of 2025, when the new administration in Washington came in. He was a financial analyst, had been hired by the IRS, and transferred here from San Diego in December of 2024 for a position here in Brookfield, with the expansion of the IRS. In March of 2025, through the efforts of DOGE to cut the federal government spending and probationary employees were cut, he ended up being here. His name is Cameron, great kid, great young man, 37 years old, unemployed, and in Wisconsin. and
From San Diego.
he's from San Diego, and it's March.
Need we say
So,
more?
so first thing that happened was he had a car problem, and he's really worried about, I'm going to make rent, and yes, I have savings, but I don't know how long this is going to take, et cetera. So he came to us, and we helped him get that car fixed. It was a minor repair, but also the next urgent problem is reemployment. So we connected him with contacts we have, the employment contacts we have in agencies like Baird and others locally who are in financial management, because he has the skill set to do that. It took him about 45 days, but he was back on his feet. Actually helped him land employment in Chicago, so he's now living in Chicago.
Okay, nice.
That required him to break a lease here in Brookfield. The landlord was very understanding and did help, did let up on what it was going to take to break that lease, and we found those resources so he could get back on his feet, get moved to Chicago and start his life all over again.
And Chicago maybe is a better place coming from San Diego than
Could be,
Milwaukee.
but it was fun to do that with Cameron. And he wasn't bitter. He wasn't blaming anybody. He certainly understood what was going on. My favorite all-time story is Fred. He was a 94-year-old World War II veteran. He called me in the middle of the pandemic in 2020 in July. We were in a heat wave in July 2020 on top of being isolated. And we were open because we were deemed to be a critical service. And Fred said, I'm down here in New Berlin living in my little bungalow, and my central air went out, and it's just waiting to die, but I don't want to die in a furnace. What can you do? And I said, Fred, there are no resources for air conditioning. If it were a furnace, I could have that replaced tomorrow. But it's air conditioning, and it's Wisconsin. But I have no clue, but I'm going to do what I can do. So, and one thing we've learned to say in our agency is, don't say, you can say, oh, I don't know. It's okay to say that, but somebody will know.
Right.
So I went that afternoon to a meeting we were having at the War Memorial. When I walked in, one of my peers said, what in the world's wrong with you? I just told him the story, and I don't know what to do with this. One of the people in the meeting left the room, came back 20 minutes later and said, I have a friend who's an HVAC contractor in New Berlin. I called him. He said, look, I'm going to call Carrier and see if they'll help us with Fred's situation. This is all happening on a Thursday. And on Friday, I got a call, and the HVAC contractor said, Carrier says they'll donate the unit if we will donate the installation. And this is a $3,800 installation. And so Wednesday the next week, we're installing central air in Fred's bungalow down in New Berlin. And I got to talk with him, a delightful person, World War II Navy. He was with the fleet in the South Pacific, torpedoed 7 times, sunk 4 times. And when the Japanese surrendered to MacArthur aboard ship in Tokyo Bay, he was on the next ship to it taking pictures of that ceremony. So, want to see my pictures?
Wow.
Yes, I want to see your pictures.
Yeah.
So.
How wonderful that you get to build those relationships.
Yeah, and get to do that kind of fun things. Some of the things we
Right.
do are not fun, but there are some fun ones along the way.
Yeah, and we need to hear those.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, because it runs the gamut, I'm sure, in terms of the types of services that you're providing. But just knowing that you are meeting the need, whatever that is, for that veteran, whether it's Cameron or Fred, you're there, spot on, and getting what they need, which is awesome. What's in the future for Wisconsin Veteran Network? What are your goals, or what do you see coming down the pipe?
I'm addressing this question with our board, Jill. When we look at the reality of the veteran population, we lost according to the Rand Family Institute, Policy Institute, we lost between 2009 and 2017, 9 million veterans in this country. And that's the World War II, Korean War. My generation is the Vietnam War veterans, and we're losing them at a rapid rate. And we don't produce veterans at the same rate because we're an all-volunteer service. We use the resources like National Guard and Reserve, who are not full-time military, to support the full-time military during times of crisis or deployment. So that means we're going to continue to see a shrinking veteran population. You mentioned 288,000 veterans in Wisconsin. And when we started this work in 2016, there were 353,000 veterans in Wisconsin. So we're seeing our population shrink. Well, what does that mean for the future? And when I get into this discussion with some of my peers and other agencies about what are we going to be doing 5 years from now, they'll think, well, we're going to be doing what we're doing now. No, not really. We'll be doing a lot of the things we're doing now, but it'll be done differently. And I think we have to focus on the Guard and Reserve population. They're underserved. They're drastically underserved. They don't qualify for a lot of the same benefits that veterans qualify for. And if they don't have that magic number of consecutive active duty days, they won't qualify for VA benefits. So how do we serve that population? And we already do that, by the way. We have since day one said if you have worn a uniform or are wearing a uniform, we don't care if it's Guard, Reserve. If you have the magic number of consecutive days, we're going to step in and try to help that situation. So I think we have to have a stronger focus on that. In fact, I've encouraged my board to expand by adding people out of the Guard community and Reserve community to our board to help us understand those challenges that those airmen and soldiers face when they're deployed and their families face when they're out of the country, so we can develop resources around that.
Okay. Uh, I like to end with this question. Our time goes by so quickly. We can't get to everything, of course, but I think if you're listening to this interview and you're a veteran yourself, or maybe you have a loved one that served and you want to help in some way, what would you say is your greatest need right now, and how can the community walk alongside you in your mission to serve the veteran population?
I'm going to say that, let me say first that if you know a veteran, or there's a veteran in your family, or you are a veteran, and there's a need that's not being met, please reach out so that we can help that veteran or yourself address that need. The biggest problem we have sometimes with veterans is they're reluctant to ask for help because, after all, I'm a soldier, I'm not supposed to. Well, let me tell you, you're supposed to. And that's what we're there for. It's what we exist for. Other than that, for those of us in the nonprofit space who accept no federal funding and a very small state grant that we've been very fortunate and blessed to receive for a few years, we rely on our community to support the work that we're doing. So if you think ours is a compelling case, we need your support. You can give us that support through our website, through the U.S. mail, or through Venmo and PayPal if you choose to support us.
Do
And
you
if
have a donate button on your website?
we have them on every page, yes.
Okay, okay.
Donate button on
So
our
you
website.
make it very easy.
Very easy to do. And if you choose not to support us, but you want to support a veteran organization, I applaud you for that, please. All of us in the veteran nonprofit space are doing everything we can currently to meet rising demand with limited resources, and that support's critical.
Okay. So if they want to reach out, what's the best way to get to you?
Uh,
Phone
if
number, website?
if you are a veteran and you're in Eau Claire or anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, and you have access to a computer, our website will allow you to provide us everything we need to begin working on finding resources that you might need. There's a Get Help link on our website,
Okay.
also on every page. It's a red button, so you hit that link and it's going to take you to our intake. It's surprising because the largest part of the veteran population here is in southeast Wisconsin,
Okay.
but clearly over half the people we're serving, or half the people we're serving, are in the far-flung corners of this state, and we don't ever see them. We talk with them by phone when we have other questions, etc., but they don't need to see us, and we don't need to see them in order for us to be their advocate.
Okay. When you're willing to help wherever and whenever you can.
That's our tagline. Any veteran, anytime, anywhere in Wisconsin.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for joining me today, Quentin Hatfield, Executive Director of Wisconsin Veterans Network. Appreciate you, appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the ways that you're helping the veteran population to understand all the resources that are available to them. So thank you for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're certainly welcome. I invite you to join us again next week. New episodes drop every Thursday morning where we will interview another nonprofit doing great work in our community, like the Wisconsin Veterans Network. You can learn how you can also help them, whether it's time, talents, or resources. Everybody can do something. So we encourage you to follow us, stay tuned, and listen to some great nonprofits. And always remember, whether you are at work, at home, or out in the community, be a blessing and give a blessing. Thank you and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Milwaukee's Philanthropic Community, brought to you by Ellen Becker Investment Group. If something in today's conversation resonated with you, share it with a friend or family member. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you never miss an episode. At Ellen Becker Investment Group, we believe education and community impact go hand in hand. That's why we love bringing you thoughtful insights from leaders and organizations who care deeply about making a difference in Milwaukee and beyond.
Please note, this podcast is intended for general informational purposes and to highlight philanthropic efforts in our community. The opinions and missions expressed on MPC do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Ellen Becker Investment Group employees and leaders. For more resources, visit ellenbecker.com. We'll see you next time.